Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and today it is my very, very special privilege to be bringing you a video on this old gal here, the M46 Patton. Now, this is one of the 3 times lucky videos that I've been doing every once in a while where I just take a tank, I play 3 games straight in it to see how it goes, and then I talk it through. So there's no jiggling and wiggling. There's no editing really involved. It doesn't give me a chance to just polish whatever and just show you the best wins and all that. Now, generally, I mean, the odds are I'm going to do fairly well regardless because I've got fairly good averages. But for all that, this was a tough gig driving this thing for 3 games today. So I'm going to take you through it, and I'm going to tell you why I love this tank so much. It holds a special place in my heart. Back in the day when I was running Tier 9 all the time with Snake Eyes and Aegon and Chapos, and Pimp Daddy and a few of the other boys, this is one of the tanks that we always used to run. It was this and the T54 together. And there's a few things about it. One, it looks amazing, okay? I love the way the tank looks. I think this is how a tank should look. This is such a pretty tank to look at. And I know that's hard to say with this much metal. And the other thing it does still, which is pretty impressive, is absolutely dump damage. Its base DPM is 3035 at Tier 9, which is better than Leopard PTA at 2933, the E50 at 2827, and the T54 at 2944. This is the highest DPM medium you can drive at Tier 9, unless of course you manage to land all your shots in a Centurion 7 Mark 1 with Hesh, in which case you'll get up to 3,198. So even with all your Hesh rounds hitting, you only get like 160 damage per minute more than you can in an M46 Patton. It's also got 10 degrees of gun depression, and it sounds amazing. Like, listen to that engine noise. Oh, makes me happy. Just listening to it. I get a thrill. I get a real nostalgic thrill running this tank. And it still works. It still works amazingly well. It's still a ridge runner. And it's funny that I should have just reviewed the Type 61 because there are some glaring similarities between the 2 tanks. Neither of them has massive amounts of armor. Now, the Patton has got much better armor than the Type 61, but that's a very, very low bar to clear. And it's still not exactly a monster, but it does have enough armor that you can go hull down at an elevated position and create quite a bouncy turret. And the turret is also very, very narrow. I mean, it's one of the nicest things about the look. It's a sleek turret. It's very sleek. It's very narrow. It's elongated, running from the gun to the end of the turret itself. And it doesn't have a huge, massive hatch on it like the Type 61 does. And those aesthetic things are also very practical and very efficient. And despite the fact the rest of the team's gone all to hell here, I'm still talking and rabbiting on about the tank. And it moves, so it sounds great, looks good. I mean, I'm a big fan of tanks that look good and sound great. And it's got good traverse numbers, and they're not amazing, but it will get out there. And DPM-wise, it just sinks stuff. So you can get it in brawls and things and do very, very well. Where it doesn't do very well, obviously, is when it gets pushed on by anything that has 200 millimeters of pen, it's all going in. So you've got to be very, very cautious with the tank. Obviously, being a Tier 9 medium, it is quite mobile. I don't know why we got 208 millimeters there on that waffle tractor. Felt like we were going to get so much more. And we're going to pull back here and try and get the shot. And you're going to see in the 3 games that I played in it today, it did really well. Like, there's no denying that the pure vicious elements of the tank are still totally in existence and still totally applicable. Now, I'm in a bit of trouble here because, well, to not be too blunt, the rest of the team's all dead, and there's still 2 left. Now, it is a Tier 9 game, So I am the big dog, and that's a happy, happy coincidence. What I'm trying to do is push away all the way over here to the edge and use another one of the key elements of the M46 Patton, which is its view range. You might have heard me talking about view range on the Type 61, and that is important. It's got 285 meters of view range base when you're running your optics, and you should be running optics all the time on the 61. And you've got 280 on the M46, which is right up there. That's very, very good view range numbers. And I want to use that view range to get shots at the guys that are coming around, hopefully the VK and the Tiger 2. I know the Tiger 2 is very low, and I want to try and engage them, get the kills, and do it one at a time. It might not be that easy now, obviously, because the VK, unfortunately, is displaying a startlingly high level of competence and has jumped into the cap circle, which really isn't what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to push on me, and then I could use the mobility. Instead, I'm in a situation where I'm going to have to push on him, and he's got all the hit points left. And I was hoping he'd come around that corner, so I hit the adrenaline, but the clown is refusing to come around the corner, which is very, very upsetting. So I'm resetting the camo, and I'm going to go all the way around and look for another shot. And there's the kiss of death from Alex MS. He said, "Bushka, you are a pro." And you know you're never going to do well when someone says something like that to you. VK deserves some credit here. He did the right thing. He made me come to him. I missed that shot there, and then I make a huge error here. I should have kept backing up the whole way into that cap circle. Instead, left myself in a very wide open slot and then engaged. And I just don't have the hit points. Even hitting every shot here, and I don't, I don't have enough hit points to get the job done. I nearly get there. You know, there's one, and then, yeah, 2 shots. We still would have had enough hit points to finish me off. So I played that poorly right at the end. I was too aggressive, but you get that. Now, you still do nearly 5,000 damage. So you can see what I mean about the way the tank is able to pump out damage. And there's a good reason for that. It's because it has 350 alpha on its gun. Now, the 105mm T5E1M2 weapon with 350 alpha will still allow you to fire out 8.67 rounds a minute. Now, 350 alpha is lovely. There's a few tanks, obviously, at this tier that run 350 alpha, namely all the mediums bar one very nasty one, or one used to be one very nasty one, the T54. If you've got high rate of fire and high alpha, you're going to do a lot of damage. And this thing has the highest rate of fire of any of the 350 alpha guns at tier 9 in the medium stakes. So that is a very, very impressive thing in and of itself. The other thing is that it has APCR as premium ammunition. Now, why is that so important? If you're driving a tank like this and you have to penetrate another tank and you need to go to Pramo and you go to heat, then you are quite often at the mercy of spaced armor or tracks. And the Patton doesn't have to worry about that. It just has to worry about, I mean, you don't want to hit them on the tracks on purpose, but you just have to worry about whether you pen or not. So we lost the first one. We did nearly 5,000 damage. And we're rolling up on the second game here. And we've pushed up high because we fight for hills, not holes. And not all the reds are spotted yet. So I'm still being I've definitely pushed forward. I'm just about to hit their spawn and I'm under a minute into the game. And I'm pushing all the way down. And there's a nice slot here that I want to try and pick up some shots from. Where the tank does have some issues is penetration numbers. Your pen's only 218mm, so not that great. And even with your APCR, you've only got 265mm of pen. The Cent 701 has 255mm of pen on its base APCR rounds. It's base rounds. So, you know, you're right up against it. The Cent 701 basically has as much pen on its hesh as you have on your AP, which is a scary proposition. Your gun's also not the most accurate in the world. It used to be horrible, like really, really horrible. It's been buffed. This tank has actually been the recipient of a few buffs. Your on-the-movement rotation is really good, 0.1. It's the best in tier. So in terms of firing on the move, the gun is excellent. Really, really good. But your aim time takes away from that a little bit. So overall, in terms of gun handling, not great. It's just all about the raw power. Good brawler, as in you can get in close and drop people, just hit point trading, and that's lovely. And you've got a 48 kilometer an hour top speed, which is pretty nice. It's up there. It's middle of the road for a tier 9 medium. But don't be expecting crazy things. I mean, 21.1 horsepower per ton will get you out there. It'll move you. And your terrain resistance stats are all right. 1.1, 1.3, 1.6, they're not crazy good, but they're all right. It's just that armor profile. Still, you will bounce some shots. And it's mobile enough that you can see here, I'm jiggling, wiggling. I'm just beating that E50 in terms of DPM. And then putting really, really tough shots into him, making sure I take my time. There we go. Not much else you can do here. I mean, really, there's a lot of red tanks here, and there's just not a lot of me. I've got so many people to worry about, and everyone keeps dying that RU's on the other side of the map. And this T30 is just going to basically poke around the corner and hit me with way too much penetration. There's not much I can do about this. Yeah, I don't know how he disappeared and then reappeared there. That was really odd. And there's the RU. Not saying the RU was doing anything wrong at all, guys. I mean, he was in platoon with a mate, and he's an RU-251, which is a very tough tank to drive in a platoon with two RU-251s at once. But tier 9 game. Oh, excuse me. So you can't expect big things. So far, though, I mean, that's nearly, I think that's 2,900 again. It's doing what it says on the box. It's putting out damage. It's very, very effective at it. I mean, it's nearly 3,000 damage. I mean, 2 games, and we're at about, I don't know, 7,900 damage, around about that. That's seems fairly good to me for a 2-game stretch. So, third game, final game. Third game's a charm, and we're on Black Goldville. And let me tell you guys, it's going to be another close one. They've all been close. And this one, I'm just going to, well, we'll let it happen. Let's see how the magic happens. There's myself and a T49. We're up the top. Now, they have a lot of mediums, an awful lot of mediums. They've got a PTA, they've got an Indian, they've got a T44 and a T69 to go with a T95 and a couple of heavies. So what I want to do here is go up, but our heavies have gone down. I'm really torn because I can't go up in all good conscience. If I go up and leave those heavies alone, they're going to be absolutely smashed. It's a tough gig. It's a really tough gig. I end up just going out the top. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I would have much preferred to go down if the heavies are going that way, but everyone else has moved up here already, and the reds are going to engage top, so I decide I'll come up here and engage with them. You can see straight away that our T49 has pushed into the A cap there, looking for shots across on that Indian. The 49's gone very hard, and now I've seen down the bottom, there is in fact a bunch of tanks on our 2 heavies, and the 49's called for help. So I'm going to roll across here. Now, it's going to cost me a shot from this Indian, but I want to make sure that the 49 doesn't get obliterated on a reload or something by that 69. So the Indian gets wiped, coming out to get the shot in. The 49, because he's a T49, does a lap of honor around the T69, draws him all the way around there, and we go and nut him. So we're now actually 2 tanks to the good. But let's be honest, there's 5 tanks down there, round C, and our 2 heavies are not long for this world. So in all intents and purposes, this is just a straight up trade-off. We do, however, manage to sneak another one into the side of the Leopard PTA. We'd love another shot there. Nope, not to be. We look for any further ones as we move down. And what I want to do here is push right around through the area that we formerly called our spawn, which is now the front line, and see if I can't spot targets up, because we have 3 TDs left. The Object 704, the ISU 152, and the Borsig. And they are all very, very big alpha damage tanks. So I want to put them in a position where we can use their big guns and spot some targets up. So I'm moving around to this bit of brush here. Patton moves like a dream. Sounds lovely. There's the MBT-70. I'm actually not firing just yet. And when I do, you can see the gun really does me no favors. Doesn't even hit it. Doesn't even hit it. Like, flies 10 feet over the top. Absolutely mad. Like, I've got no idea. RNG. Love it. There's another one into the side of the MBT-70. Hoping that those guys up the top can get some shots. MBT-70 is nobody's fool. He's going to pull right around the back. And if it's not happening here, we're a 4-on-4 now. The PTA just took out the 49 who had pushed up. It's time to make a move. I don't want to get stuck here too long. It's one of these odd things that's been developing at tier 10 particularly, but you don't see it too often at tier 9, which is pretty good. But where you get big guns sitting at range, and it becomes very undynamic and quite staid and stagnant. So I'm pushing up here on the flank. I know there's an MBT-70 somewhere around here, but what I do have going for me the MBT-70 doesn't is massive DPM. I've got like 800 damage per minute more than that MBT-70, which is a fair bloody number. And the gun, again, not really singing for us in terms of accuracy, but that's okay. If you can get closer, a lot more shots go in, and that's exactly what we're going to try and do here. 3-on-4, but they've controlled 2 caps. I'd like to sneak around the back here, grab another cap, and come out a winner. But I'd really love to get some good, easy shots here in on this MBT-70. That's exactly what we do. Now, I try and do something here, which is put that truck between me and him. There's a reason for that. It means that he can't fire HE or heat into me, and he has to try and pen me with AP, which is great because, like, that's a harder job. And there's a chance that the tank takes enough, the truck takes enough off the shell, and all systems are go. So we've got 2 caps. Rather than push down there into those guys, I'm going to make sure we cap this so we get the easy win, because I've already done nearly 8,000 damage in 2 games and had 2 losses, and I am not bloody well losing this one again. The MBT-70 has no choice but to come around, and we put a very comfortable shot into the side at 270 ping, because... yeah, ripper. Ping really working well for me today. Nearly 300 ping. Thanks very much. And then we're going to move down here, take a couple of easy shots. The T95 is going to turn around, and you're going to see how tough it is to pen with this tank. It just isn't that accurate. We know we've got one more on the T95. We switch to APCR. And then we say, you know what? We'll just take the win. Thanks very much. We'll drive onwards and upwards and get the win. All well and good. Everyone's a winner. That's the M46 Patton. I really enjoyed driving it again. I think I'm going to drive it just for fun. Like, I really like this tank. It still dumps a huge amount of damage day in, day out, which is epic. 2800, our lowest damage game of the day, but locked us in nicely for about, I don't know, 11,000 damage across 3 games. Was that right? 5,000 and 6,000 is 11. So about 10,800, which is solid averages if you're working on that one. On Bushka Blitz, that was a hell of a lot of fun to do. There's a lot more videos coming down the pipe. I'm going to do a 3-game T32 video, and that's a bit of an underappreciated tank. It's actually working pretty solid in this meta, which is a surprise to me. I mean, the M103 was a surprise. I thought that would suck. I was pretty sure I'd like the M46 still. I've got a soft spot for it. It was going to have to be absolutely horrific for me to not like the M46. And the fact that people do less damage when firing Premo just helps tanks like that a lot. It really does. The M103, that is. It doesn't help the M46 Patton much, because it was nice to be able to fire better penetration shells and do the same amount of damage. But anyway, neither here nor there. I'm Bushka Blitz. Look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield.